Hey everybody and welcome. I'm going to show my progress. It's going to be basically my first three.js deployment launch project already. So I'm going to show you what I did, how it looks like, and then we can go over some stuff, right? So let's go and to the project. So here we see that this is my project. This has already been uploaded to the server called Versal. This one right here. There's various ones like Versal, Netify, Git pages. There's a lot of them out there. But this was the one that was recommended to me, which is fine, but you can choose any other, right? So this is shareable. So this is basically now on the web and it is live. If I choose to do so, I could add this to my projects. So any projects that I would want, I could add this one to it because this is already live, which to me is so amazing, honestly. Praise Jehovah, as it says there. Now I'm going to show you how basically it works a little bit. I'm going to go into the index. What is these? Basically, this is all the code that it uses to basically make this go live. Of course, I didn't write most of this. Some of this is auto-populated, but this is a ton of code. Bubble, okay, bubble. And it tells me that I have an error. Well, of course, because this is basically through a server that I wanted to basically show you, right? Anyone can see it and so on. From here, I can also see, right, some of the HTML that I've done. It's really not much, to be honest, on the HTML side. It was mostly all JavaScript. Typing in all that JavaScript is fun like this. Look, let me show you. So I'm going to open my project over here. It's in VS Code. And I'm going to, it's going to be the Control R, bam. And it's going to be this one. In such a short amount of time, I was able to do this too. So here we have just the JSON just to basically connect everything through the script, right? The JavaScript here with this. And just looking at the dependencies here as well for development. So a lot of this is basically what we need to have Vite, which is going to be the one that we use to build the server, right? In the beginning, how do we do it on our computer, and then from there it goes from Vite, it goes to this one. So that way we are able to now deploy it, and everyone can see it. You can show it to friends, family, acquaintances, clients, potential clients, which is really good. That's one. Of course, you have the JSON. This, of course, I did have to do everything from the bottom up, which is cool. Once you learn how to do, I think I use JavaScript more than I do any other language now. Yeah, JavaScript and CSS and HTML, because HTML is kind of annoying sometimes, but it depends. But yeah, this is all the code that I had to use in order to create this is really important. So I had to import it says import as 3 from 3. Basically, it is the framework from 3.js.org. And then the orbit controls so that I could, control basically the movement of this here. And the font loader just so that I can load the fonts for JavaScript. That has a specific way of doing it. You have to also get the licenses. Always do that. Very important. And even if it's for public use or commercial. And of course, here's the same thing. It's just the text geometry. It's importing the font, and then it's making it into a geometry. And then this is very important. It's basically the controls, but I don't have them active at the moment. So this is basically where you can move how transparent it looks, if you can move how it illuminates, the metallicness, roughness, you name it. If you add textures, all that stuff, you can use that to your advantage, because this is, as it says here, is to debug. So that's basically that. And then of course you have to have the canvas. That's basically where everything's gonna go. It's going to be the HTML here. So we have to add in the body, we have to add the canvas right here. And we have to add the web WebGL, so it's going to be canvas.webgl, I think. It's going to be over here. I'm going to erase this. It's going to be somewhere here. Oh yeah, here it is. The query selector, of course it had to be. So right here we created the variable, the document, we store the canvas.webgl, which basically has the ID, or what, it's a class. Interesting. Okay, it's a class. Okay, yeah, it's a query selector, meaning class, because it's the other one is get element by ID is the ID. I forgot about that. Oh, sometimes it's a lot to take in. Then here we created the scene. Basically, this is what we need to create in order to make sure that this scene is being rendered throughout the whole scene. Rather, this is just to create the scene, and then rendering is in the end. And then this are the textures that we used. Of course, we used these colors and this image right here, the matcap, which is this one that looks like a rainbow. And I actually might change it to, nah, let's leave it like that. So once we have those textures loaded, we have the fonts loaded so that we can have the font, which is the Inter. For this one, it was another one. For the other project, I use Inter because that's my favorite font. One of my favorite fonts for sure, in the top 3. And then from there, we use the text, the sizing here. Basically, we use the font, the size, which would be translated into a certain amount of pixels. The depth, which is basically height, but they renamed it. So they renamed a lot of things here. So, but they made it a lot better, to be honest. The curve segments, which is what creates the little curves. I know. Bevel, the bevel enabled true, very useful. This is basically what makes that to be this shape right here, this. And then you can also decide what thickness you want. Right now it is already in production, so if I were to do that, it's going to update it all over again, so I have to redeploy everything. But I could always use this on the local server for sure, and then I could move everything before I put it into production, because in production it takes a lot more time to do it. It is more of a hassle. The size, yes, the offsets, 0, and the segments, which we see here, how many it has. Okay, so then we created a donut. I was actually considering creating a menorah. I might just create that. I might just duplicate this project and create a menorah, and who are willing, make a lot of menorahs. Yeah, that would be pretty cool. And then adding a background of the temple. That would be pretty cool. Adding like everything Chrome. And then basically here we use the for loop. And this is one of my favorites. Is really the for loop is to basically represent how many objects you're going to create in here. Of course, I put here 100. Some people put more than 100, just so that they can have more visual donuts, I guess, here. Like these are called torus. I just be calling donuts. But other than that, we have here the code for the positions, X, Y, and the Z. So that's that. So basically, it has like a little thingy here that's like that, and this it lands in the middle. So you need to move it a little bit to the side so that it can be in the middle. If not, it won't be in the middle, because it starts off like this and then it goes like that. Instead of it being right here, like right here, it starts like right here, and then when it rotates, it goes like that instead of it going like this. So that's just what I wanted to say. Then we have the sizes, the event listeners, very important because we want to know the aspect ratio of the size of the website, the camera, of course, the render, because without this you don't have anything. The base camera, perspective camera, is always the one that's being used, and then we position the camera here. It's a lot of stuff, and then the animation and the text. But that's just basically a little rundown of what I've created with this now that it's on a live server. I am so happy, and all praise be to Yahuwah. So that is just me showing a little bit of progress, guys. So keep doing, keep learning. Praise Yahuwah. Peace.